he's definitely my greatest rival. And who said Novak or what you? Yeah, Novak.
Roger, our rivalry is a little bit better. It is a little bit better, so we have to go back to the beginning when you beat me in Miami. Yes, but you play me the next year, just like we must play again. Our rivalry is a story of the true love. I knew this the moment you touched my shoe. That's why 15 years later at the Laver Cup I touch your shoe. We must play again. Okay, Rafa.
They gotta play one more time. What can I say to a rhyme? If you don't get Roger Rafa, it's a federal crime. New shoes with the track that's keeping it hot. Roger Rafa 2020, man, who would've thought? Turning tennis metrosexual with the bromance. Johnny Mac can be as excited as Rafa with long dance. And I'm telling you now, if there's even a small chance they be meeting at the Aussie UK US of France, without your credit card, better pay in advance. You get your ticket locked down so you can see the ghost dance.
With some tequilas, I'm dancing.
All the way to the Australian Open. Or could they meet there? Maybe I'll do whatever it takes. I'll even sell my baby. Wimbledon, could that be there too? Take out a second mortgage, you can be there too. What about the US Open for the first time? It would be a celebration, a real celebration. Come on, When the two worlds meet, the legend would be complete. An epic clash of tennis titans, which no contest can compete. And you can thank the gods of tennis that the Joker got beat. Yeah, 70's amazing, but man, 20 is elite. Federer, no betterer, no one disagrees. Talking 2020, it's an equal royalty. And when you're talking kicks of tennis, I know what it means to me. Roger lifts up Rafa to the sky and says,
well, Rafa, there's really no place I'd rather be. Roger, this is the most happy I've ever been. You hold me up very high, big, strong arms. Yes, it is nice, but it is getting rather strenuous holding your ample-sized bottom on my right bicep. Sorry, Roger. May I ask you a question? Rafa, you can tell me anything. Just whisper if it's a secret. Should we invite Novak to the Grand Slam finals? Invite him to Roland Garros, but nowhere else. Roland Garros, but not the Australian Open, Wimbledon, or the US Open? Not if you don't want him to win.
I don't want to look like I'm gonna be his boyfriend, no? So.
Well, how about that? I want to give a major thank you to Kanye West for coming through last minute with the excellent hip-hop song that you just heard. Unfortunately, I should apologize to Jay-Z, who did an excellent song for us that was for Djokovic winning the French Open 2020. And unfortunately, that song is not very useful because Djokovic didn't win the French Open. But my apologies to Mr. Z. Hopefully he can rewrite his song and use it if Djokovic is able to win another major. Welcome to Coffee Break Tennis. I know Djokovic will win another major. Joker fans, do not fret. Do not be sad. It's a wonderful day here at Coffee Break Tennis. We are very excited for Rafa Nadal. One of the things a lot of people have been asking me leading up to this final and some assumed that Djokovic would win. A lot of people assumed that Djokovic would win, and some assumed that Rafa would win and tie Roger and eventually pass Roger. And a lot of people said to me, Matt, how does that make you feel knowing that Rafa is going to pass Roger Federer's records? Today's show is brought to you by Crunch Time Coaching and TennisCon 4. If you are a tennis player or you want to be a tennis player, check out TennisCon 4. It is one of the coolest things for tennis players around the world. Ask anyone who's an avid tennis player, they've probably heard of TennisCon 4. Peter Freeman goes around the world, literally, at least online, and he gets some of the best tennis coaches, some of the most interesting people to hear talk about tennis, how to improve your game, how to do the kind of things we talk about in today's show, like first strike tennis, how to implement these kind of things you see the pros do in your own game, in your own matches. Check it out now. There's a link in the description down below. Be a part of TennisCon 4. It's coming, so don't miss out. TennisCon 4, baby. And one, we don't know that yet. This result, some people like Mats Wilander, we'll get to that in a second. Mats Wilander speculated that maybe this is going to hurt Djokovic, and now it's going to be harder for him to get motivated at the Australian Open for the Australian Open. And I think there could be some truth to that. Like I said, we'll talk about that later. But for Roger, do you think he's at home watching this? Like, one, he was definitely watching to see his two rivals, his main rivals, which, by the way, I think the Roger-Rafa rivalry is bigger. They've met equal times in finals of slams. So they're pretty close. I think it was wrong for Djokovic to say. I mean, for him, sure, that's his biggest rival. But that's maybe not the biggest rivalry is probably Roger Rafa still, even if they've played more times total. When it comes to Slam finals, ATP Tour finals, they're even. They faced the same exact number, Roger Rafa, Roger Novak. Anyway, so Roger's definitely not at home watching this match and shaking in his boots saying, oh, I'm so scared Rafa's going to take my records. If anything, I would think it's fair to say that Roger sees that match and is inspired. He sees Rafa, Rafa's a little bit older. People have been speculating that Rafa's body won't last through the way he plays as he gets into his 30s. So when Roger sees Rafa, and in some ways Roger might feel like they're kind of from the same generation. We talked about in a previous show that Rafa turned professional only like 2 years after Roger, despite being 5 years younger. But anyways, Roger sees that and is probably inspired. If Rafa can still do it, I can still do it. And you better believe that the race is in play. Rafa knows it. The first thing I want to do on today's show is let's just listen to some things that Rafa said. And I didn't answer the question. How do I feel? Well, a lot of people I told, I don't really know how I feel until I see it happen. One, I don't accept that Roger's done. I think after last year's Wimbledon performance, why would you not give him a chance to win Wimbledon next year? Why would you not give him a chance to win the Australian Open? The way he performed this year, he was obviously injured, and he still gave Djokovic a competitive first set in that Australian Open semifinal from January of this year. So I don't think that's over. And honestly, as I watched it, you see this image, the way the reaction from Rafa when he wins it. How can you be mad at that? I'm happy for the guy. He's a good guy. We all love him. I think it's interesting that so many tennis fans, it was kind of a bitter rivalry, Nadal fans and Federer fans, and now it's not really like that anymore. It was weird to see. You can see it on Twitter watching the match. It seems like most Roger Rafa fans dislike Djokovic enough to accept Rafa tying the Federer record happily rather than see Djokovic win, which I think is unfair. Djokovic is a likable guy as well. So how do I feel? I'm happy to watch all three of these guys. At this point, I really don't care as much who ends up with the most. You're going to have a hard time making a case even if they do have the most. You're always going to say, well, Rafa has the most French Open titles. Maybe he has the most. Let's say Rafa finishes with 22 and Novak with 21 and Roger with 20. A lot of people say they're going to pass Roger. I'm still going to have a case to say, well, Roger's a better grass player than Rafa. Maybe Rafa won more slams in total, but he played him last year, 2019, the semifinals of Wimbledon, beat him pretty convincingly. So you could say, yeah, Rafa was younger than Roger, yet Roger was always a better grass court player despite losing that very big match, 2008 Wimbledon final. You're always going to be able to say that Djokovic is more well-rounded than all of them. I think it's fair to say that. Djokovic, a more well-rounded player than Roger and Rafa. Obviously, the way he's been able to win multiple times everywhere except the French Open. But there's still time for Djokovic to win a French Open. I don't think that won't happen for sure. But anyways, so I'm happy with it. I'm happy to watch these three guys. I love all three of them. Maybe Roger and Rafa, a little more special place in my heart because it all started with them. I've been watching tennis since before Djokovic. Anyways, Rafa Nadal's press conference. I had some good quotes here from Rafa Nadal. Some of these questions are, by the way, take a look at this. I was looking through old footage of Roger and Rafa to make the excellent Kanye West music video that we had in the beginning of the show today. And I found this. This is when Roger and Tsitsipas were playing doubles together last year at the Laver Cup. And I guess they must have just dropped a set. I don't remember specifics from this match, but Roger, is kind of going through the game plan with Nadal, and he says, should I serve or should Steph serve to start the next set? I'm guessing, you choose who serves first in doubles. You or your partner, even if you just served the losing game in the last set of doubles, you can decide to serve before your partner, even though you just most recently served in a new set. That's one of the doubles rules. It's a little different from singles. Roger says to Rafa, should I serve to start the set or should Tsitsipas? And look at Rafa's face.
We give him advantage. That's all the thing.
You should serve. Same time. I serve. Okay,
Rafa's face is shock. He's like, what? And he kind of points at Roger, and he kind of looks like he's kind of whispering. He says it kind of soft, like, you should serve, Roger. The look on Rafa's face immediately was like, are you kidding? Let Tsitsipas serve? You're freaking Roger Federer. Anyway, I thought that was hilarious. But let's take a listen to some stuff Rafa said. They asked him some pretty dumb questions. Probably the best of all, the most dumb was, Rafa, even though we know you don't like to talk about tying Roger at 20 slams, we know that's something you don't really like. Tell us how that makes you feel anyways, because we've already asked you before and you said you don't really want to talk about it. So, Rafa, please talk about it.
Yeah, well, of course, no, I never hide that. For me, I always say the same. No, I would love to be to finish my career being the player with more Grand Slams, no doubt about that. No, but in the other hand, I said, okay, I have to do my way, and I did my way during all my career, worked well. So I'm not gonna be thinking all the time, Novak have this one, Roger is winning the other one. You can't be always unhappy because your neighbor have a bigger house than you, or a bigger boat, or have a better phone. You know, you have to live your personal life, no. And personally, that's the things that I did during all my career. No, just try to follow my road. Try my best every single day, and in terms of these records, of course that I care. I am a big fan of the history of sport in general, so I respect a lot that, and for me it means a lot to share the 20th this number with Roger. No, but going on, when we finish our careers, no, we keep playing. So I don't know what can happen in the future. I'm just excited, and of course it's something that means a lot to me, and at the same time share this record between us, that we had an amazing rivalry for such a long time, is something in some way beautiful. I really believe, and let's see what's going on.
And Rafa gives his classic answer. He's given it before. One time he gave a version of it where he got in trouble. He said something like, well, you don't want your neighbor's girlfriend or wife because she's more pretty than yours. And some idiots in the media turned that into, Rafa thinks all women are property. I think it's safe to say that's not what Rafa was trying to say. But this is the version without talking about wives or girlfriends, wags in this one. You can't always be unhappy because your neighbor has a bigger house, a bigger boat, a better phone. You have to live your personal life. That's what I've done all of my career. I try my best every single day. I'm a big fan of the history of the sport in general. For me, it means a lot to share this number with Roger, no? Great answer. Great advice. Great advice for everything in life. And I love that Rafa gave that answer. Again, also he did say in there, I don't hide it. I'd love to be the player with the most. But Rafa knows, thinking about that, as he was saying here, you'll be unhappy in your life if you're always thinking about who has something more than you. But looking aside from that, happy or not, it's just an operating principle. It's not a good way to get more slams, right? If Rafa's obsessed about that's not what you need to focus on when you're trying to win slams. Maybe Nick Kyrgios could take a page from Rafa on that one. Also, I thought this was interesting. They asked Rafa, this is kind of a secret, a loaded question. The media guy, I don't know if he's intentionally doing this, but it seems like this to me. He's basically trying to find out if Rafa's going to play anymore this year. And he says, you've struggled with the World Tour Finals. Do you think maybe you'll win it this time?
Analyze the future, because we are facing a tough situation, as everybody knows, and in terms of Australia, to 14 days of quarantine before the tournament starts. So it's the moment to be smart and to make the right decisions in every single moment. So I am just doing my best to not make bad decisions. So to make the right decisions, I need to think only about what I need to think. So now and before this match, I was thinking about Roland Garros. Doesn't matter what's going on later, and probably after tomorrow we're gonna start thinking about what's the best possible calendar for me.
Most interesting there would have to be the part where he says, in terms of Australian Open, quarantine, 2 weeks, which everyone outside of the U.S. says quarantine instead of quarantine. It's interesting. I'm a linguistic communications expert, as some of you know, so these things fascinate me. But it's a possibility that he might not play the Australian Open. That would be a major loss for the whole entire tennis world, so I don't like that one. But best of all, And dumbest question of all, but best answer from Rafa, who you can hear. It's not like he's irritated. I mean, he just won his 13th French Open. Who would be irritated? But he gives a great answer to this guy. I love it. The question's somewhere along the lines of, Rafa, we know you don't really like revenge. You're not a big fan of revenge. But with that said, do you enjoy this revenge over Novak Djokovic, who beat you pretty badly at the Australian Open last year, Mr. Rafa?
As you know, I am not a big fan of revenges. No, I just accept when the things are not going the way that I liked. In Australia, he played amazing, and for me it was very difficult to play well because he played too good, just too good, and today was a little bit the opposite, especially for 2.5 sets. But I really don't care much about... I don't have a better feeling because I won 6-0, 6-2, 7-5 than if I won 6-4 in the fifth, honestly. No, I really... Even maybe it's a little bit more beautiful win 6-4 in the fifth than winning a straight sets. No, that victory normally, in terms of personal feeling, are more satisfying than winning a straight sets. No,
as you know, I'm not a big fan of the revenges. I just accept when the things are not going the way that I like them, the things to be. In Australia, he play amazing. For me, it is very difficult to play well. You know, Rafa put it best. You watch a loss like that, and I was one of the people who said after Rafa's loss that this could hurt Rafa the way it wasn't competitive enough, but Joker wasn't supposed to win, right? Rafa's supposed to win the French Open. It's a tougher loss for Djokovic to beat him at the French Open. And Rafa, you know, Djokovic is supposed to win the Australian Open. These are their favorite slams. Roger losing Wimbledon to Djokovic a lot. That's who suffered the most in this department of losing your home turf slam to your biggest rival, one of your biggest rivals. Don't want to get in trouble calling anyone a big rival, especially with Chris Evert and the gals out there. But for Djokovic, this shouldn't change things. And I like what Rafa said on court right there at the trophy ceremony. Rafa says, like, hey, you know, he crushed me. He destroyed, I think he used the word destroy. He destroyed me at the Australian Open. I had a good win here. You know, this is just the nature of the sport. These things happen. But let's look at what Mats Wilander said, and then we'll do a couple more things, and then I'll do some stats with you. We'll go off camera and give you a direct look into the stats department because it's a lot of numbers, and I don't want to lose anyone. When we look at Craig O'Shaughnessy's work, I think it's really important to understand what happened in this match. So we'll look at that in a second. But first, let's talk about some of the fallout and reactions from people around the world after Nadal. I mean, he did destroy Djokovic. It was a good match, but Craig O'Shaughnessy was right all along. You know, I was pointing out, funny enough, saying like, I wonder how Craig O'Shaughnessy feels about this because the numbers are showing that the long rallies are pretty important now. The first strike tennis, yes, it's still important. And one of the things I was correct in, some of the numbers I predicted were actually wrong. The opposite of what I said would happen. Obviously, I said there would be a 5-set match. You could see the beginning of the first set, even though it took Djokovic a while to win a game, I think it was only like 3-0, and we were already like 30-something minutes into the match. So it was looking like if Djokovic could have done his part and took us to a 4th or 5th set, it would have been a really long match. Imagine if that match had gone 5 sets. It could have been an extremely long match because there were still a lot of long points, but Craig O'Shaughnessy is definitely the last one laughing because for years he's been saying, stop thinking about consistency. If you want to be better at tennis, whether it's at my level, the college level, the junior level, or the ATP, WTA levels, your number one focus has to be first strike tennis. That's what wins you the majority of your points. That's where it counts. This tournament was a little different than that. There was definitely much more emphasis. In some matches, we saw a split where it was quick strike points. And if you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, it's rallies where it's serve, return, forehand, backhand, or backhand, backhand, or forehand, forehand. Rallies that are 4 shots, or an ace is a 1-shot rally. A serve that goes in and then a winner return hit by Djokovic up the line. Not a lot of those in these matches. That would be a 2-shot rally. That is where the majority of points are usually played. As high as 70% of total match points happen in those quick 0 to 4 shot rallies. We saw some matches here with Rafa where it was literally split in thirds. Short rallies, 30%, 33%, medium rallies, 33%, long rallies, 30%, numbers like that. So it was very different, but in the end, the guy who won it, Rafa, how did he do it? It was all about the quick strike numbers. So that was an amazing thing. Craig O'Shaughnessy's got to feel pretty good about himself. He's got an excellent piece we'll look at in a little bit. But first, let's go through this. Novak Djokovic now has questions to answer at the Australian Open, says Mats Wilander, tennishead.net. Novak's body and his game, it's more modern than Nadal's, and I think he can stay longer, explained Wilander. Of course, it will hurt his confidence not having won the U.S. Open and then this crushing defeat. But now he's going to go into training for the Aussie Open where he becomes a clear favorite, and he knows if he wins 3 majors next year, which we predict every year he's going to do, then he's going to be at 20 as well. The question is emotionally, whether he is, and again, these are the words of Mats Wilander, whether he is as emotionally involved as he has been over the last 2 years, that's the question I'd love to have answered in Australia. On Nadal, though, Wilander has much more positive thoughts about his chances. Wilander goes out on a limb saying, today tells us Rafa Nadal most probably has the best chance to go down as the greatest male player of all time. But he does throw a bone to us Federer fans out there. We have our doubts about Roger Federer, of course, but he can still win another one because he is a genius. Aren't you right, Mr. Wilander? So after I saw that, I thought, you know what? I'm going to think less of what Wilander said. It's not going to be a challenge. It's like what Rafa said. That's that's the nature of the sport. And, sometimes there's a beatdown. Sometimes there's a 5-setter. One of the dumb questions they asked Rafa was like, about the revenge earlier. I love how Rafa said, winning a close 5-setter is more rewarding, more gratifying for you personally than winning a blowout match, right? Because you triumphed over the greatest odds going in a 5-setter. It's such a challenge. It's such a tough thing, such a feat, such an accomplishment. So Rafa, very right when he says that. But I was thinking Djokovic will be fine, but not everyone is as mentally tough as Rafa. I think one time I said Djokovic maybe is more mentally tough than Rafa. I don't know about that. Take a look at this from the Times of India. We love it. We love India here. Good people. After Nadal's loss, Djokovic seeks solace at Bosnia's energy pyramids. Novak Djokovic visited a Bosnian pyramid park on Tuesday to benefit from the site's purported healing powers and miracle cures 48 hours after his demolition by Rafa Nadal in the French Open final. After 2 days after being swept aside, swept aside. Don't be so mean to Djokovic. As Rafa said, it's the nature of sport. These things happen. Every match can't be an epic 5-set close contest. 6-0, 6-2, 7-5 at Roland Garros. He made a trip to Viscos Valley of the Pyramid and his 25,000-year-old tunnels beneath, whose energy is claimed to bring about miracle cures. Red flag. Here's another one. Goran Ivanisevic under fire over French Open comment involving Djokovic and Nadal. This is by Adam Adicott and ubitennis.net, which we also like here a lot. Ivanisevic said earlier in the tournament that Rafa has no chance here against Djokovic. It's come back to haunt him. I forgive the guy. Uncle Tony is noted here saying, Carlos Moya said, I know Ivanisevic. I understand that it's the role he has to play. Nobody would have said anything similar from Rafa's team. I think it is something that puts pressure on our player. Good point there. Not the smartest thing to say from Ivanisevic, but I get it. He's an interesting guy. He's a little bit like Kyrgios in some ways. Maybe not that bad, but he'll say things. He says stuff. Ivanisevic, another of his great... This is from Uncle Tony. This is a little more cutting. But, when you're former coach, you don't have to be as careful. Ivanisevic, in another of his great predictions, said that his player was fully prepared both tactically and mentally for this final. The reality is that this final showed that it wasn't like that after all. It surprises me that a champion like him often falls into a sequence of negative gestures and messages. Ivanisevic basically said that he says what he means. He got too excited. He went out over his skis. Anyways, let's go to the computer and show you some stats numbers, and we'll talk about how Rafa's incredible win happened, what he specifically did, and then we'll get out of here. All right, we're at ATPTour.com, and let me show you really quick how to find Craig O'Shaughnessy's work. If you go to ATPTour.com, it's not always right here on the front page. In fact, it rarely is. You have to click stats. That's where the fans of tennis, true fans of tennis who like to take the deep dive into the numbers, that's where you got to go. You click stats or stats home. They take you to the same place. Scroll down below the literal stats here. And ATP Beyond the Numbers is a lot of good stuff there. And below that, Brain Game Tennis. This is where we find his latest work, Craig O'Shaughnessy's How Nadal's first strike strategy smothered Djokovic. And this picture, very appropriate, not much different than 2008 French Open where Rafa beat Roger beat the heck out of him, destroyed him with this big forehand. So if you ask Rafa if he's gotten better over the years, I think he would definitely say yes. If he would beat his, as they asked Roger a couple years ago, with all the advances you've made to your game now, today, everything you've learned, everything you've worked on, would you beat a younger version of yourself? He said yes. I think Rafa would say the same thing. And a big thing for me is Rafa, seeing this picture, he is way inside the baseline here. He sees the opportunity and takes advantage of it earlier than ever to move in and attack with his big forehand. It's hard to play like Rafa. When I play, I like to stay close to the baseline. I try to return my whole life. I've been trying to play like Federer as much as I can. And I've noticed Federer will stand on the baseline to return serve a lot. So I've been trying to copy that for years and years. Occasionally, if I'm having a hard time with someone's serve, I'm not making a lot of returns, I will back up and try to play like Rafa. And what I've learned doing that occasionally is it's very difficult. It's a lot of work to get back to the baseline. I think Rafa's gotten a lot better at seeing the chance to move in closer, working his way, using shots to work his way in there and do more damage, because that's the bottom line. You step closer to that line, or you go past the baseline, you go inside the court closer to the net, and your shots can be much more rewarding if you hit them well and you get them in. Anyway, so I think Rafa has gotten a lot better at that, and that's what he did in this match, early and often, and he to the backhand. That's a big key here. Rafa hit a lot of forehands to the Djokovic backhand. Even though Djokovic got this great two-handed backhand, it was the same outcome as what you saw with Roger Federer in 2008. Just couldn't handle all that heat coming to the backhand corner. So let's take a look, scroll down. Serve +1, you'll see Craig O'Shaughnessy talk about a lot because, it's a fact. It's not like it's his opinion. It's what modern tennis is all about. At every level, as I said before, every level, that's how you win. You got to do well because that's the majority of the points. We saw some rare occasions here, a lot of matches, in fact, where it wasn't the majority of the points, or it wasn't a plurality even. We saw, a match, I can't remember which match, was it Schwartzman and Rafa, where it was literally like thirds. So these are the 3-shot rallies. If you don't understand serve +1, I hit a serve, you hit a return. It's serve +1 of my shots. So the way most serve +1 shots go is hopefully I hit a good enough serve that your return is not great, and I hit a big forehand and it's a winner, or it forces an error out of you, or you hit a ball that's short enough I can go to the net and poke it away into the open court, something like that. And this is what happened. Whenever there was a rally that only lasted 3 shots in the match, 8 times it was a winner from Nadal. 1 time it was Nadal committing an unforced error. 6 times it was a winner from Djokovic. 1 time, and this can be confusing, like when they say forced error, do you know which player they're talking about? Who was forcing who to make an error? In this case, they're saying, because they show you later, shot 3, see Djokovic here. Shot 3 is 17 mistakes, so that's 16 unforced errors. 1 error forced by a great shot from Rafa. 6 winners from Djokovic. Even though it's only 8 winners from Nadal, that might not blow you away, that number there. It adds up with the 16 unforced error, the 1 forced error. This is a lot happened here. As you see, if we scroll back up, it says Nadal crushed Djokovic 53 to 25 points in first strike, meaning 0 to 4 shot rallies. So a 4-shot rally could be a first strike gone wrong for Djokovic. It could be Djokovic hits a serve, Rafa hits a really good return, Djokovic hits let's say it's a high forehand. Let's say Rafa's able to hit a great forehand to the Djokovic backhand. The Djokovic backhand is not very good. Shot 4 is Rafa hitting a winner, or hitting a ball that leads to an unforced error or a forced error out of Djokovic, something like that. So let's take a look. We showed this is the profile of when the Djokovic errors come. Well, the bottom line here is a decent little bit here. 7 came in really long rallies for Djokovic, but 21 come within the first 3 shots. Forget about 0 to 4. This is 0 to 3. So 4 errors as double faults. What is a 1-shot rally? It's an ace, a double fault, or a serve you just can't get back, but you barely touch it, right? You touch it and it rolls into the net. Doesn't come close to being in play. That is a 1-shot rally. So a lot of damage done here very early. Rafa said against Diego Schwartzman, I had to take my game up a level to beat Diego here, right? Because Diego just beat him in Rome. To play Djokovic, I'm going to have to take it up a couple levels. And judging from the match, he took it up 3 or 4 maybe. I mean, this is one of the greatest matches from Rafa in his career. It's really, especially considering how most people thought that Nadal would lose here. Pretty amazing stuff. I was one of them. If you watch the draw show, I say Djokovic is going to win. I think by the quarterfinals with Jannik Sinner, that's when I said, okay, I just saw all this heat that Jannik Sinner threw at Rafa, and he couldn't win a set, couldn't win one set. Sinner was, if you think about it, Sinner came the closest to beating Rafa here out of everyone. Freaking teenager. So I'm real happy that I switched over just in time to not look like a fool. Ground stroke performance. Look at this. 23 winners from Djokovic. That's nice. 60 errors. Was there anything else I want to talk about here? You get the majority, the gist of what he's saying. Let's take a look here. Going into this match, I had predicted that Rafa would do better in the medium length rallies on serve. Because one thing I noticed was these top players are doing really well with the 0 to 4 shot rallies on their own serve, which they should. I mean, that's the way tennis is played today. It's all about first strike tennis. And I noticed that Rafa was doing a good job in the long rallies too, right? When rallies were getting extended, he was doing a good job. And it was going down. As the quality of opponent got better, Rafa's numbers in that department went down. But one thing I noticed was that he seemed to, no matter what happened, do pretty good in the medium rallies. And I saw that as his first forehand strike. Let's say he's doing a serve +1. Rafa hits a serve. Jannik Sinner hits a great return. Rafa hits a forehand, but since it's such a great return, he really can't do the damage to finish in the first 0 to 4 shots with a serve +1. And what I found was he was very good, though, at finding a way to reset it and still finishing the point as quickly as possible within 8. Medium rally is 5 to 8 shots. He's very effective in the 5 to 8. Djokovic was actually more effective on serve in 5 to 8 than Nadal. I think maybe altogether Nadal was maybe a tiny bit better. If you look at, and Craig O'Shaughnessy, he's got the last laugh now, right? Because this tournament was making it look like, well, maybe sometimes tennis is not all about first strike, Craig O'Shaughnessy. And what did the final show us? Well, the guy who won the tournament, he made it about first strike, serve +1 type tennis. He made it about that, and it crushed Novak Djokovic, the best returner in the world, right? It should be the hardest to do serve +1 against this guy. I thought this match would be so close that it would come down to this in a smaller way, right? Rafa would just have the edge. He was always definitely going to win this somehow, but it was going to be a long, tough battle. That's what I thought. But I was basing that on Djokovic's ball. It's flatter. It's a little riskier than Nadal's. It rewards you very much on a fast surface, but not so much here on a very slow surface. It was more likely he was going to make errors. What I didn't predict was that it would come in the first strike tennis so hard and fast for Rafa and how he would make so many mistakes. So look at this. 52 unforced errors from Djokovic, a tiny little 14 for Nadal. Yeah, he hit more winners, but at what cost did that come? So let's take a look here. This is where I kind of got it wrong. The medium rallies was won by Djokovic overall. If you total it all, he won it by 5 points, 31 to 26. Rafa wins the 9+ by 6. So if you add all this up, this whole area, if you add up this whole bottom 2 sections here, Rafa is +1. So it's a wash, basically. The damage obviously is done here in this 53 to 25. But my hypothesis here was, if you look at serving, I said it was key that on serve, because this is what I noticed, on serve, even if Rafa was not doing great in the 5 to 8 and the 9+, he did very well in the short stuff. Obviously, 29 to 6. This looks like more of a beatdown than any other stat in the match. When Rafa was serving 0 to 4 shot rally, serve +1 type stuff, 29 points to a tiny 6. This is the story of the match. Craig O'Shaughnessy absolutely nails it. But I was saying in the last video that this was going to be key, how Rafa is so good at still finding a way to finish, especially on his serve, and not let it get out of hand. Because if you can't use your serve to set things up and finish them within the first 8 shots, now it's a little bit out of your hands. And that's what I really noticed throughout this tournament was a trend, and it held up. Djokovic slightly beat, right? This is if Nadal is going beyond 8 shots on his serve, that should be good news Djokovic all day. And he did beat him here, but just barely. He didn't really beat Rafa and much. Rafa did very good here, 17-10. If we look at Djokovic's serving numbers, he did much better, 21-9. So the numbers are Rafa won 45% of the long rallies. Djokovic won 35, right? So that Djokovic did it right. Same thing applies here. If Djokovic isn't finding a way to win the point on his serve within the first 8 shots, that's good news, Rafa. And it sure was 17-9. The medium rallies, Djokovic was just a little better. So 21-9 here. That comes out to 70% of the time he won on his serve. Rafa's 63%. The short, and this is why it's a 3-set blowout and not a 5-set match like I thought it would. I just assumed top players throughout this tournament, Djokovic, Nadal especially, they were dominating on their serve in short rallies all the time. And Djokovic, just even though it's not an absolute blowout, it's right here at least, it looks like not an absolute, like 24-19, that's not a big deal. But think about it. This is about holding your serve if you're Djokovic. Comparing to Rafa, Rafa won 83% on his serve when it was 0-4 shot rallies. Djokovic wins 44%. That was obviously the big difference, as Craig O'Shaughnessy pointed out. And then finally, let's just look at this, and then we'll go back to me on the screen instead of my computer here on the screen. 15 plus -5 in the ground strokes. What does this mean? Rafa, they're counting forced errors as a winner, basically. You hit a shot so good it forces an error out of your opponent. Rafa had 13 forehand winners, 5, so that's 18 total winners, plus 5 forehands that were so good they forced an error out of Djokovic, and 3 on the backhand side. So that's this adds up to 26. 5 unforced on the forehand, 6 on the backhand. That's 11. 26 minus 11, 15. That's how we know that forced errors mean Rafa is forcing the errors on these numbers, in case you get confused. Djokovic, on the other hand, he put up good numbers too. 9 and 9 on the winners, 9 and 5 on the forcing errors. But look at the unforced errors, and a lot of that has to do with Rafa just never let him get comfortable. This felt like to me like a Mike Tyson boxing fight. Rafa just kept punching Djokovic in the face over and over again. That's what it felt like. Djokovic came to the net more, won a higher percentage at net. Wasn't a major factor, obviously, in this match. But one thing I'll point out, Rafa did better on the passing shots. Djokovic just got 1. And here's a big part, another intangible thing we talked about. We said in the preview show, I said, hey, Djokovic is probably going to hit a lot of drop shots. And if he's hitting an incredible drop shot, if he's Gaston, it's going to be a good day for him maybe. If he's hitting a bunch of bad drop shots, he might start having problems. Maybe we don't get the 5-set with things like that. Obviously, this is not as big of a deal as the main story being Rafa just kept punching him early and often, and that's why Djokovic got destroyed in the 0-4 shot short rallies. But look at this. 6 drop shots were just unforced errors. Rafa, remember I said in the preview, I said in his match against Diego Schwartzman, I'm trying to remember what Djokovic hit. I want to say like 20. Maybe it wasn't that high, but it was very high compared to Rafa. Rafa hit 2, and they were perfect. And I said, you can expect that. Rafa's not going to use it a lot, but when he does use it, it's going to be the perfect time to use it, and he did it once, but it was a winner. Djokovic, 6 unforced errors, 4 winners, 1 forcing error. So he did win with the drop shot, but in the end, it was a loser. Rafa's +1 in this category, Djokovic -2. 2 points that Djokovic didn't get overall that he really needed. All right, anyways, that's enough in the stats department. And a lot of credit to Craig O'Shaughnessy, who's been working on this stuff in particular. These numbers that really shows how important first strike tennis is. He's been working on this for years. So a shout out to Craig O'Shaughnessy there. All right, that's it for us. Thank you for watching Coffee Break Tennis. We can stop drinking the Perrier now because the French Open's over, and we can switch back to our Yannick Sinner Fabio Fognini Italian sparkling water. One thing on the news front, Djokovic is going to be playing in Vienna at the Erste Bank Open, where he has not played since 2007. So I think the guy is looking to find some winning feelings before he goes to the Australian Open next year. That's the right play from Novak Djokovic. I applaud him. This is the way to do it. Get back out there and practice. That was one of the best things about Diego Schwartzman. When he lost to Rafa in his presser, he said, I beat Rafa, and then Rafa immediately goes to practice. He knows how to practice. He fixes the things that need to be fixed. And now he beat me here. That's why he's in the final. Paraphrasing Diego Schwartzman. Good sign to see Djokovic doing this. He's all in. So that means we're going to be covering this little tournament that Djokovic normally wouldn't be playing. So thanks to Novak Djokovic. We'll see you pretty soon for that tournament and anything else that happens in the incredible and exciting world of tennis. See ya!